back to the HCW YouTube channel, and welcome back to another Indie Spotlight. And Alex Connors is here, so it must mean it's Kamikaze Pro live. How are you doing, Alex?
Yeah, very good, very good. It's been a hell of a busy weekend, and it all ended on Sunday evening with Kamikaze. We're getting round to this very quickly for us. It's just been a couple of days, so I'm very excited to have fresh memory.
Yeah, it's always nice when we can do it quite quickly. And for anyone that's not aware, this is Alex Connors Munch when it comes to HCW. We've got an Indie Spotlight coming out with Alex, which we haven't filmed. We should have a Wrestling Hinkley preview at some point, which there's matches announced. You remember when I said I'm not sure what we can do now? There's not matches. There's 3 matches announced, so that's good.
Well, I think I might have some inside scoops when we get around to that video, but I'll save them for that one.
And then obviously we've got Kamikaze Pro Rise of the Emperor as well. So all of the wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very busy weekend for me. Many shows, tried to do double duty on both days, so that was a lot of shows. But it's been a very busy few weeks for Kamikaze Pro. They just had their Over the Top. Now we've had 2 lives in about 2 weeks, and then Rise of the Emperor, their tournament show, coming up next week. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I forgot we got Wrestle Connect we need to record as well. Good God. Anyway, we'll get to the brass tacks. It's Kamikaze Pro Live 42 at the dojo. Really banging crowd once again. All the seats were filled, so I did my usual and stand at the back awkwardly with a pint, because that's how I roll. But we kicked off with Ronnie G versus the Redacted one. I'm not going to say his name for the whole of this. I've got it in. Redacted, obviously fun-loved by the fans already at Kamikaze. Going against one of the favourite, like the fan favourites. Ronnie G, his rebuttal to Redacted is he called him a stinky face.
He did. He did. Ronnie G using classic insults that are bound to have an effect. And as we know, Thomas James Sky, he's vulnerable to that kind of banter, I'm sure. So I'm sure he's probably still thinking about it to this day.
He looked very confused by the whole thing of stinky face. So obviously Ronnie G started, as he means to go on, by stabbing. Dabbed a lot. Redacted, touched the dab. Ronnie G then replied with, "Never touch a man's dab."
Never touch a man's dab. I think that's sound advice for anyone in life. I remember then TJ Sky went to absolute town on Ronnie G's legs. He picked up his leg and absolutely battered it, including this amazing figure 4 through the ropes, and then he hit the ropes and double knees and ended up hanging himself through those ropes. He hit him so hard, and it completely smashed right through Ronnie's legs. Which was a very impressive maneuver.
Yeah, so Ronnie had a bit of offense at the start, but then Redacted kind of got full into. He likes feet. He likes the legs. Ronnie G did say you've got a weird foot fetish in the middle of the ring, but
this is a classic strategy which we've seen last time with Sonny G. It's one of TJ Sky's classic offenses because he uses an ankle lock a lot, and he is far more experienced than Ronnie G. So it's probably how we expected the match to go. But Ronnie G did fight through. It did cost him, though, on one of his people's elbows attempts. He went right into a knee bar. He got hit with the 610 Dino Salt twice, I believe, which was pretty
record-breaking moment. Look,
twice.
I don't think he's ever hit it the first time out. He always gets it the second time, but I don't think he's ever hit it the first time out.
And I felt sure Ronnie G would learn from that. And when TJ went for it the second time, I thought, this time Ronnie will get out of the way. But no, he hit it the second time and followed it immediately up with the power bomb that I believe he calls the Dr. Grant bomb.
Yeah. And Redacted was very surprised, as I said, with the second one. You kind of saw the reaction to the second one going, I've hit it twice there. The downfall of Ronnie G on this match, unfortunately, was he kept announcing his moves. Like, obviously, there's a meme in wrestling, the Brainbuster. Everyone does it. Shouts Brainbuster. Yourself, you do it. But Ronnie G does it for every big move he's going to do.
Yeah, the Brainbuster warrants an announcement. That's a move with some grandeur, that is. Where Ronnie G, not only does he announce a lot of his moves, he asks the crowd what they want to see next a lot of the time.
Bottom.
Do you want to see this? Do you want to see that? And he gets a bit of a democracy going in his offense.
Yeah, and obviously Redacted's no fool, so if he hears rock bottom, he's gonna reverse the rock bottom because he's like, I know what you're doing. Redacted out back to the leg many times. At that point, Ronnie did reverse out the extinction, which was a nice way of getting out of that. He got him into a Claymore kick, and then he hit a people's elbow because the Claymore, even if he shouts the people's elbow redacted, was quite out at this point.
I mean, he was smart with the Claymore because I think he announced it when he was about mid-air and 2 feet,
it's
2
a bit
inches
difficult,
from. Yeah, I remember him shouting Claymore, but it was far too late for a counter.
Yeah, and then Redacted nearly got the extension once again, but Ronnie reversed it straight into the rock bottom and picked up the win.
Yeah, and that's a huge win for Ronnie G, and I would say actually a surprise from what I was expecting in the match. He'd suffered loads of damage on the legs. That's normally prime TJ Sky target. You're going to go for an ankle lock and finish it off. The people's elbow that he hit there at the end, he really had to struggle through. You could see he was really struggling to walk on that leg. But then, out of nowhere, floated over the extinction very nimbly and hit the rock bottom.
Yeah, a good fun opening match. I rated 3 stars. Big win for Ronnie G, especially because he's been very hit and miss recent times.
Yeah.
So to pick up a big win against someone as experienced as Redacted was very good. And unfortunately for Redacted, the one time I saw him win was the one time that's ever going to happen, it seems. We'll move on to a match that you didn't get to see much of because obviously you're preparing for your big match, which was against JC versus Coach Mahon. JC came out very pumped up, crowd was loving him. Coach Mahon can do the same thing with a whistle and so forth at that point. They showed a lot of respect at the start of the match. Both good guys, both get on. They got the crowd to chant for each other. They traded a few pins at the start, so your Oklahoma rolls, your crucifix bombs, your Mario strolls and stuff like that. Then JC, well, Coach Mahon fell into the trap of let's do a test of strength with the 6'5" man, which is not the start of that. Then JC a massive back slap on Coach Mahon. Hit a rolling springboard, which was nice. He hit the drop kick, and it's still getting good, which will be nice to know.
That is important.
And then he hit the mother of all sentons on Coach Mahon. It wasn't like the back; it was like flush, as in.
I saw this senton, and I saw this senton because I heard people gasping at the monitor backstage while JC was still in the air because he was about 6-7 foot above the ground, hovering, it looked like, before he came crashing down. That was I think I can confidently say the most brutal senton I've ever seen.
Yeah, because normally with a senton, most guys, they kind of hit them top of the back, kind of arch. JC was full 6'5" on the.
Yeah, you want to hit your opponent, but you also want to carry on your momentum so that you don't get hurt and so you continue up. Yeah, exactly, and then you're back on your feet. Whereas JC didn't try that. He didn't care for his own back, and he didn't care to get back to his feet either. He just tried to meteor strike all the way through to the centre of the earth with Coach Mahon in the way.
Literally, Coach got in a bit of control of that. He was hitting a few suplexes. JC fired back with a massive lariat. And this is where he hit the senton. Sorry, I've completely skipped ahead. Senton's the out. Sorry, I apologise to Coach Mahon. I've written senton here because Coach Mahon hit a really nice senton on the outside. He went for a dive, JC stopped him, but then he did a rolling senton on the outside. That's where I've confused that. I thought I mentioned it because it was a really nice move. Coach then hit a coach cutter for a near fall. JC hit a butterfly suplex for a near fall at that point as well. But then out of nowhere, I nearly said Ronnie G, Coach Mahon picked up a win with a European clutch. But it wasn't fully in. So there's people that watch Zack Sabre Jr. European clutch, he catches the legs as well, don't he? Whereas JC's legs were still kind of loose, so it wasn't. It was surprising that he couldn't get out of it, but Coach Mahon
I did see the pin, and it was more just feet on the shoulders, trying to pull the shoulders down, which does mean that JC should have had a lot of leverage at his height, and that is
kind
a surprise.
Nip up maneuver.
I think the shot. Yeah. I do remember that cannonball senton as well from the apron. I think Coach Mahon actually avoided getting tripped on the apron, leapt over JC, and then came running back the other way, which was really impressive from Coach, especially when you've got a plan, you go for a tope suicida, that gets countered. You really are thinking on your feet at that point, but he dodged a trip, and came running back the other way with that cannonball senton off the apron. And on a guy JC's height, you need to get quite high for that. So that is very impressive. But yeah, the pin, it's a bit of a weak loss there for JC to get pinned with that, I would say. I would say he didn't take it well. At this point, I was in gorilla position, but you might inform us that he didn't take it well from what I could hear from the crowd.
So he didn't take it well. So Ronnie G came out because it's a big singles win for Coach Mahon. I think that is his first singles win because last time out he lost against you, so he definitely hadn't picked up a win at that point. Ronnie G lifted up his hand, but then he kind of went to JC to get him up, and then they kind of did the good old trio, nice lifting hands. Coach Mahon then went...
For a bit too long. I mean, I don't know how this felt, but here was me in gorilla position, and I thought, somebody's planning something. There's a trap here from somebody, because they were out there for a bit too long.
Ominous. Coach Mahon then went out near side to where the shutter is, to speak to the crowd. And then out of nowhere, JC absolutely yeeted Ronnie G's head off with a lariat. And then beat the crap out of both guys. Absolutely waylaid on both of them, and just left. Both fans were booing, but he didn't take it well. But this is what you need from JC. He's 6'5". He's just beat up two men by himself, but he wasn't doing that in the middle of the match, which... Exactly
what I was going to say. If you can dominate two of the whole tag team at the same time with that aggression, then why didn't you win your match? It's definitely a weakness in JC's to have played up to the crowd and got caught off guard. So this might be really good for him. We'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah, perfect timing for Rose and the Emperor. You know, if you're beating two men in one go, you know, it's going to be easy to go through three at separate times. Next up, we've got a match that you are aware of. So it's Alex Connors against Sonny Nos. To confirm before we start this match, is Sonny Nos a cat?
He is not a cat.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you like this video? There is a button. It's a very sexy button. It says subscribe on it. I wish I could click on it, but YouTube won't let me. Damn fuckers.
Limbs, not paws. No whiskers. Did you see any whiskers?
He has it. He has cat ears, though.
Does he have a tail?
I didn't want to look. From examination, from a far distance, he doesn't have a tail.
Obviously, match of the night, of course. Crowd seemed very entertained by Sonny's pretending to be a cat and not actually being a cat for the first few minutes. I finally managed to get a wrestling match out of him, worked the back for a lot of it, trapped him in the ring apron, and used that to attack the back. Sonny did try and fight up. He got caught out trying some cat antics. I thought it was a cat headbutt, I think, that he managed to hit later in the match.
There was a few antics, though, which I feel like you're skipping over, which we need to make. He's not a cat, but you tried to let him out the door as you're a nice gentleman. You know, he wanted to leave, and then he did what a cat does and runs back in the ring. Then he wanted you to rub his belly, and because you're a gentleman, and the crowd wanted it, you rubbed the belly a bit, and then he bit you, and the referee just went, no, bad, rather than any kind of disqualification options.
Ridiculous.
Then you scratched his head, bit you again, and then that's when you decided that, screw this guy, I'm just going to beat the crap out of him.
An infinite number of cat ears, I seem to remember, because every time I got rid of them, a new pair was on his head before I even turned round. I have no idea where he was pulling them from, because he was only wearing trunks.
Yeah, I don't want to know. And as a cat, which he isn't, he has 9 lives, and you slapped about 8 of them off his face, so that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, you kind of had enough. You were just properly waylaying into him. You hit your variation, the kind of gory special variant, where you're on your knees. Then
Fire prison.
Yeah, there we go. I will keep that note for next time.
That's an Alex Connors invention right there. Fire prison, we call this.
Noted. He bit you again, because obviously, if he can bite you 5 times, the ref's not going to moan at the 6th. You then cut him off. I'm sure you hit a Blue Thunder Bomb. I believe was it a variation of Blue Thunder, or was it just a Blue Thunder Bomb?
Yeah, Blue Thunder. So he started getting some momentum. He charged at me in the corner. I evaded, so he hit the buckle. It was a big, scrappy mess as we were both trying to get position. I managed to slam him back into the buckle, and I ended up somehow on the outside. So I did a very unexpected springboard helo into the ring, and then Blue Thunder straight after for a very near 2.99999.
Yeah, very near fall. Then he nearly caught you off guard with it. It was like a variation of the mousetrap pin. That Orange Cassidy kind of does.
He did two very weird pins back to back that I'd not seen. Yeah, he had one that was like a mousetrap, and then one that was like Kofi Kingston's SOS, but with a bridge after again, which was quite the surprise. And then after that, he started to fire back up and actually started to be a wrestler.
Yeah, which is how he's going to pick up wins. Unfortunately, he didn't this time, but we'll get there. You hit a massive knee, then you did the knee backbreaker. He then did a very nice backcracker off the apron, off the ropes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's say the Uranagi backbreaker, because knee backbreaker is any backbreaker, really. Yeah. They almost all involve knees, apart from an Argentine or a Canadian. So the Uranagi backbreaker it was. But yeah, I think he hit a code breaker at one point. I tried to give him a hard buckle at one point, and then he reversed it, swung my feet through, so I was dangling in the ropes, and then hit that backstabber from me hanging in the ropes, which was very painful and a very near fall for him.
Yeah, very.
And then he went up top. And what happened then, Ray, if you remember? He climbs to the top rope after that backstabber.
I would like you to explain it. I feel like you're getting very much a happiness of this.
Yeah. So, obviously, we'd worked that back. He was really struggling to climb, which gave me just a few seconds. People have seen the belly-to-belly off the top or the DDT off the top, but this was something totally fresh and unique. Instead of a backbreaker that involves a knee, as they normally do, as I've mentioned, we were both stood in the ropes. I lifted him for a backbreaker and dropped him right across the metal top turnbuckle.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it wasn't good for anyone else at this point. Brainbuster. You shouted the Brainbuster as we spoke. That's the only time you should shout your move, and that's the time you do it at that point. Sonny hit me. I'm sure it was Sonny hit Meteor at the back of your head at one point as well.
Yeah, so then he escaped the Brainbuster. For some reason, he seemed to know it was coming. He hit me with his new cat headbutt.
Yeah.
Because I could have sworn that backbreaker had done it, so I was maybe a little overconfident. And then he hit that Meteora to the back of the head, and a lot of people probably thought he had the move Brainbuster lined up, as he called it again. But unfortunately for him, the back gave way, and he was in the perfect position to get brain-busted.
Yep, and then a bit of a carry-on of thorns to top it off. And Alex Connors, surprisingly, has beat another 2.0 guy.
I believe that is now 9-0 on the Kamikaze Pro Live 2.0 Crusade.
Yeah, so it's not like you deserve a title match or anything for the title you have.
I think Sam Hughes won one match in a row and he got his title shot. Because he lost to Nate, won a match, got a title shot. Yeah, I did. Oh, no title shot.
I'm afraid that is Zach Walker lost 3 matches. 2 matches and got a title shot. Nate Rowley lost a lot of matches in a row, won a Rumble and a title. It's very seedy, and it can. Who knows? Laurie's took over a slight bit. It might change.
Yeah, I did say on my entrance that I hoped for better management now that Carl was not there, but I don't know if you saw, Carl was still lurking around. I tried to point him out.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Everyone was telling me that he wasn't there, but he definitely was.
No, he was on commentary at one point. He was standing next to me at one point. Don't worry, I operated him for you.
So hopefully Laurie is not listening to Carl Robinson's terrible, terrible general manager advice.
Yeah, I heard. I was trying to get out of him if he got suspended, but he wouldn't let me know. But Alex Connors, I rated 3 1/4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Really good match. Just overall fun and brutal and fun. That's what you need in a wrestling match. Next up, talking to Zach Walker, he had the fight of his life against Chantel Jordan. This was very much the strong. This was like New Japan strong style. Just kick the shit.
Yeah.
But kick the absolute crap out of you. Good God.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people have mentioned Kamikaze just sort of puts together the best matches, the best sportsmanship matches, and there's not always a lot of grudge or, beef behind them. And I think most people looking at this would say this is just another chance for Zach to face another great wrestler. But actually, for those who are at over the top 9, I really feel like we dropped a little subtle hint here, a little seed, because Zach Walker prominently talked about being the youngest person on the roster at the time, and the second youngest, I believe, debut on Kamikaze Pro Live. And Chantel was the youngest, and she announced it, I think, as almost a slap in the face at the over the top 9 6-way, in which they were both in. Zach had his announcement, said he was the second youngest. Chantel had her announcement, said she was actually the youngest. So I think she's giving him a baptism of fire that she probably received when she started, even if she was only a teen back then.
Yeah, I think it shows it's the first time where Chantel's not. It's not like a threatened thing, but it feels like more of an annoyance because Zach's been like obviously thrown in the deep end a lot, and he's kind of like namesake. He's had great matches. I've rated his matches very highly, and I feel this is like Chantel Jordan's going like, this is what I was, and it's got the first time since she's been around that someone's been like her. Obviously, you got people like George, but he isn't. You wouldn't class him as like a full-on dojo guy. He's been everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is probably the first time where she's actually gone, I need to kind of beat some respect into someone. So this kicked off with a typical wrestling, let's chain wrestle, see who can outmaneuver who. Chantal took control of this with a trip and then a few big strokes, just absolutely... people need to see these strikes. The crowd was loving it, and obviously we won more time. So Chantal, she wanted to do it one more time, even if we didn't ask. But also, she was wailing. She also did one for Zach's mom because she's a lovely person. Chantal, she wanted to make sure that mom.
I was just about to say the crowd were mostly loving it, but Zach's family and Chantal had a bit of antagonism, really, which is rare to see between Chantal and any audience member. She's beloved everywhere she goes, and it's rare to see her get so much as a boo, no matter who she's in the ring with. But she didn't just ignore Zach's family. She really stared them down. She really made some gestures and some harsh words to them and made them watch as she battered their son.
Yeah, it's a similar story as Chantal. When she first was around, you'd have Nat around, who everyone loves Nat, but that would happen to Nat, where you'd have someone that just would beat Chantal up in front of Nat, and then she's doing it to Zach, so she's learned. Walker, a massive dive during this match. He's very, very athletic, Zach Walker. Chantal hit a massive round-out kick to just stop this in his tracks at that point.
Yeah.
Chops outside, just absolutely like Zach's got one of them chests that are perfect for wrestling, white and meaty, and like it instantly juice up.
Yeah.
She then went,
you know what? Chantel's fingerprints off his chest after that.
So God, chopped him a few times and went, you know what? I'm just going to go and kick him a few times in the chest on the outside. It was graphic. Good God. Kick check. Zach then tried to fight back. He did a really nice monkey flip. Straight body kick. Then Chantal would just, every time Zach had a bit of momentum, Chantal would just cut him off. Absolutely just kick him the crap out of him. Zach out of nowhere did try and nearly got a roll up, which is how Edgar defeated Chantal. Quick roll up. She is dominant if you can kind of catch her without off guard. But she was too smart for that. They both kicked each other at each other and had a double down at that point where they were both out. So even though Chantal had been battering Zach for a lot of this, that strike actually took her out for a while.
Yeah, that was a really impressive combination there that ended in like a roundhouse and a spinning back fist at the same time that both collided. And you did get a double down, but as you say, for the whole rest of that match, it felt like Zach was fighting from underneath. Yeah. Until that point, he'd definitely taken a lot more damage.
Yeah, Chantal, then when they were both up, hit a massive knee into a fisherman's buster. Got a 2-pin for that. Then, the most beautiful thing I've seen. So Chantal was on the top rope. Zach's coming out of nowhere, and he hits a Frankensteiner. Like perfect really Frankensteiner as well. It wasn't like it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect. Smooth, crisp, all the way down. Just a picture perfect textbook Frankensteiner off the top.
Yeah, she popped up just about, but Zach went straight for a cutter, just like straight away, let's get her down. Near fall at that point, and Chantal kind of got a bit more sense to her. Had to hit some massive strokes, just going back to the well once again. Zach then started to kind of go full on like Tomo Ishii style, kind of like just eating these strokes, just nutting into them. And then she kicked his head off. And then to end it all, because you know what, she's a very nice person, she tombstoned him graphically.
Yeah, Gotch style tombstone, I believe, as well, with the hand laced through the legs rather than both round the body, so that she could really drive it in. We've seen her use the sort of reverse jig and tonic style tombstone, but I've rarely seen her hit just a full Gotch front tombstone.
Disdain, that's why Alex was disdain.
Yeah, it was. It was just driving him into the ground.
Yeah, and you could tell as soon as he folded, his body just folded. It was done.
It was done.
Zach Walker, unfortunately, once again, he didn't pick up the win, but once again, an amazing performance. I rated it 4 stars. It was stupid, this match.
Yeah,
really stupid.
Good. Zach's been just fantastic all the way through. Chantal is always fantastic. Zach is really bringing these matches to life, though, because we've seen Chantal face loads of people on these reviews. We know that she's brilliant, and normally other people are trying to come up to her level. So getting that 4-star match out of her is all down to Zach, really, being able to keep up. Very impressive.
Incredible. And he is in the Rise of the Emperor tournament.
Yeah, and not too incredible, because he's also coming after one of my belts in 3 days' time, so let's not play him up too much.
DCW?
Yes, yeah. So Zach, pretty good.
Is he bringing a cat?
He is bringing a cat. Looks more like a wrestler to me.
Yeah. Don't fall for it again, please, Alex.
Well, I've learned after my first experience with Sonny, I think I've got a bit more experience.
Just kick him up the arse. That's what you should do anyway. House of Heritage was up next. Will Stevens and Kieran McQueen versus Zero to Hero. Once again, Nate Rowley and Edgar. Maximus Goro, once again, nowhere to be seen.
He wasn't there all day, actually. Yeah. No match, but also not out there to support. And I think Zero to Heroes were lucky that Samuel Hughes had the big main event title match. So he was completely focused on that and couldn't come out and play the numbers game in this match.
Yeah, exactly. It kicked off with a jump start, so Zero to Hero were already in the ring. House of Heritage was coming out, they've got the pinky, and then Edgar and Nate went no, and then just started fighting them in the hallway, brawled all around the ring. Good old-fashioned ring posts.
A big mistake, I think, from Zero to Heroes here, because they are fast, agile, lightning in the ring, using the ropes and the environment, but just brawling around, especially when you've got Will Stevens on the other team.
I was going to say.
It's a mistake, and you can see that passion. I've really enjoyed this rivalry, if I'm honest. It has been, I mentioned a lot of the times, Kamikaze is a sportsmanship promotion. This is not one of those times. This has been a hate-filled rivalry. And that got the better of Zero to Heroes, and it ended up, by the time we got back to the ring, they didn't have any offense whatsoever. We had this brawl, and by the time we were back in the ring, they had already isolated somebody, and they were already on top. We're House of Heritage, and that period of a match where one team isolates another started straight away.
Yeah. They eventually kind of got a bit on top of House of Heritage, got Will and Kieran outside. Then the unfortunate the agility kind of got too much for Edgar and Nate, as in they fake out dived. Edgar did a fake out dive. Then Nate, the other way around. Nate did a fake out dive, and then Edgar went to dive. Kieran hit a forearm, just absolutely right in. And Will Stevens just grabbed him and rammed him into the post. Just used all his momentum and rammed him fully into the post. And then that was it for Edgar for a while. He was just getting worked over continuously at that point.
Yeah.
A few times Edgar tried to get get to his partner, get a hot tag in, but the House Heritage are a bit more smarter. So Kieran would come on the outside, pull the tag team partner away, which isn't illegal. And
again, House of Heritage, especially this pair, not only are they more experienced individually, this is a team that we've seen for ages. Will Stevens and Kieran McQueen all over the country. So they are used to teaming. They can read each other's body language, and they can make those silent calls I'm not going to be able to stop this tag. Go pull him off the apron.
Yeah, and that's what happened there. At one point, I don't know when it happened, which obviously it's the major factor of this match. Kieran McQueen got busted open nose-wise.
Yeah, I think I have it pinpointed from commentary. There was a whole flurry of offense. I believe Edgar finally made the tag to Nate Riley. He came in, he had a whole flurry of offense, a springboard, phenomenal forearm. And then, if I'm not mistaken, or at least this was the last time I saw Kieran not bleeding from the face, and Nate Riley hit the ropes about 6 times, just getting faster and faster, with Kieran trying to hit him with various strikes each time. And after he hit 6 or 7 times, he hit a hidden blade, just running full pelt at Kieran McQueen. And I'm fairly certain that was the last time we saw Kieran McQueen in action in that match. And they were not just plastering up his face, but mopping up everywhere that he walked behind him.
Kieran got absolutely mangled.
Yeah.
And he was just gone at that point. So it was a Will Stevens against the world match at that point. The hot tag from Nate kind of led to that. Stevens' power play was trying to come into, but I think it was getting a bit too much because, you know, he's a big guy, but when you're having 2 people, that especially like Nate and Edgar at you, it's kind of struggling. He did hit a fantastic stalling pie driver, which he squatted in at one point, which is no mean feat. That picked up a 2 count, but then out of nowhere, it was he got their finisher. I think it was like a 3D variant, is it?
Yes, it's a flapjack and a flatliner rather than a cutter. So yeah, a variation of a 3D, but with a jumping flatliner. A very impressive move. We've seen them work it as a triple team as well when Maximus is there, so that's really cool. I do think that the match really petered out though, because after that power driver, Will Stevens was frazzled, I think, with the loss of Kieran. We saw at one point him looking at the corner. There was nobody there to tag.
It was like the Astor method. It reminded me of Astor when he didn't know what was going on because Astor might be somewhere.
Exactly. And you can't really blame him for that. Your partner has just vanished. You've got concern on your mind as well as trying to strategize a new plan because you obviously had some tag team maneuvers in mind. But yeah, it sapped the danger, I think, out of this match for Zeros to Heroes because after that pile driver, I think they knew they had it in the bag with the 2-on-1 advantage.
Yeah, like I rated 2.5 stars, and I think it was mainly because Kieran was out of it. As I said, it kind of petered. Will was fighting an uphill battle. But now they're 1-1, technically. So there's only one way to go from this, and this is a first blood tag team match.
Yes, and I'm very curious as to whether we think, and we'll never know the answer to this question, whether this was positive or negative for Samuel Hughes, because on the one hand, his team had lost and they were winning this war quite handily before. On the other hand, does it fire you up to prove that you're the leader, to try and stand out, to try and get your team back on the right tracks? And I wonder whether or not he watched that match on the monitor or whether he was so focused on George for the main event. I'm very curious to see, because it was a real surprise for Samuel Hughes to, as much as you always want to win the title match, break away from the faction rivalry for a different match entirely.
And another negative for him as well would be that he might plan for Kieran McQueen to be out at the main event with him as well, which was only
very likely.
Stevens, which we'll get at.
Very likely.
Finally, before we get to that match, we've got Luke Douglas, there's no bias here, versus Blake Violet, a man that you defeated and hasn't really been seen except for a Rumble appearance since then, so this is his second matchup. So Luke, with all his wisdom, decided to have a power game with Blake Violet, and by going, I'm the most power, he literally taunts him in the ring, going power, and then obviously he launched him because Blake is a big, big guy. Blake's the difference in 2.0,
Exactly what I was going to say. It's a huge difference compared to everyone else that Luke would have wrestled in this 2.0 upcoming class. Blake outpowers the rest of that class by a long way. So any strategy that you would have used to face Edgar or Nate or Hastur or Ring Kremlin or Tiger Shah, you're not going to be able to use that on Blake Violet.
No, 100%. And Blake likes pain, which doesn't help. So once again, from the Zach Walker school of earlier, Violet was eating forearms like they were nothing.
Yeah.
You kind of Suzuki Ishii kind of laughing, like if if Violet started laughing, I would have thought Suzuki was in that ring. He was manhandling
And
Luke at that
honestly,
point.
I think he should. I think he
Yeah.
should add a laugh to his
Yeah, it would
offense,
be
and that might seem like
perfect.
a very
Obviously, don't
yeah.
try and do a Japanese laugh because it will look really dodgy. But,
But it would be even more disconcerting for his opponents because
yeah,
he has this shrugging off the offense, walking right through it. It really plays with your head. Only me and Luke can speak to that so far.
Mhm.
It really, you realise you're going to have to knock him out because you can't make him suffer or tap out. And so, yeah, I think he should demonstrate that even more and get into his opponent's heads.
Yeah, like I spoke to Luke Douglas after the match, and he was going like, when someone's walking at your forearm wise, it's a bit scary. So if someone's laughing at your forearm wise, it's a bit like.
Exactly.
He manhandled Luke for a bit at that point, got him out the ring. Luke was just like, I'm dealing with this for a bit. Then he came in, and a bit of offense that you don't see from him often, but he's a big fan of. The Cyclone kick, the Chris Hero Cyclone kick, he hit out of nowhere to get Blake. Just that kind of rocked him completely.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost only strikes for the first half of this match, and so Luke had to get some new, bigger ones in, and so did Blake. We did see some tilt-a-whirl, spinny, momentum-building strikes because they'd all realised their standard repertoire of strikes wasn't working, but it was going to be a strike-off.
Yeah. Then, obviously, as Luke's legit as it is, I've wrote here, he got him in a Greco-Roman throat hold.
He did.
Followed by a few big kicks. Blake was trying to fight out at this point. Luke tried it once, but did get to hit the stroke, which is one of my favourite wrestler moves.
Yeah, hit it eventually.
Violet then was hitting some massive chops, trying to come back at that point. Both guys were then hitting big moves. And then, as I said to you prior to this, some of it I missed because a nice Will Stevens came up to me to discuss and tell me about Kieran McQueen. So it was my own fault about asking. But then a slight, 20, 30 seconds of the match I missed.
So we did have some big moves from both sides. We had Alex Connors' favourite move, the Tiger Flosion from Luke Douglas, a Death Valley driver from Blake Violet. And then Luke ended up hitting this 4 or 5 super kicks to a kneeling Blake, which I think we've seen put a couple of the 2.0 people away.
Yeah, JC's the one that comes to mind, when he just absolutely about 20 of them in his head,
Yeah, but Blake Violet kicked out of them and looked almost unstoppable at that point because, like you said, he just walks through pain. He tried to get another Death Valley driver of his own, but got countered, I think, into Luke's 21st Century Blake breakdown. That was the end.
Yeah, he did hit a big forearm to the back of the head at that point before that as well, if I remember.
Yeah.
But that's I haven't seen him hit that finisher in a while. But you could tell he was trying to get it in on Blake, but Blake's such a big guy that he just went, you know what, I need to just do it. Otherwise, he was trying to position he just needs to do it. And I think that's what caused more damage to Blake. Because I feel like,
100%. Blake tried to get out of the other side, and you could see Blake's head coming up on one side, Luke trying to push it down, and Blake pushing off again. And yeah, you're completely right. He eventually just spun and dropped him with his head sticking out, and that was enough for a concussive blow to keep him down without his insane pain tolerance.
Yeah, because it might, if he hit it as smoothly or just got into me, might have not got him down. But because it was so just quick fire, let's get it done. I think Blake caught Blake off guard because he was trying to break out of it.
And it shows some panic from Luke Douglas because he really was running out of ideas. He'd hit all his moves that have finished recently with super kicks
moves
and the Tiger Flosion.
As I said, Cyclone kick. He doesn't hit that.
So it was a good showing from Blake Violet. I mentioned that struggle at the end on comms as well because I got to commentate this second half. I do wonder how competitive is this 2.0 scene. It's got to get to you if you're Blake Violet how intense the 2.0 roster is right now because we've got Zeros to Heroes. They've earned their spot, and I guess House of Heritage are annoyed at that. They're trying to take spots away from the more experienced guys, and that's what started that whole war. But underneath Zeros to Heroes, it's really hot. Rise of the Emperor is going to be an important tournament for the whole future, especially this year, as to which of these 2.0 guys cement their spot on Kamikaze Pro Live. Coach Mahan, we mentioned rarely picking up a singles win, but he did on this. Blake Violet, we mentioned he debuted and then didn't make a couple of shows because the roster was too stacked. We had American imports. We had all the veterans. So this is only his second appearance. Didn't pick up a win. It's going to be really hot.
Yeah, it's going to be massive. We've got JC coming on to preview that as well, so I'll be able to see the new persona of JC. Hopefully, he's not a dick for me.
I'm so excited for Rise of the Emperor just for this 2.0 war. We needed actually a ranking or a tournament for all the 2.0 guys who are desperately trying to get onto the Kamikaze Pro live shows, just to say, all right, let's fight each other, because you can't put them on against me and Luke and compare their win-loss records because they're up against much more experienced people. Let's have them face each other in a tournament. Brilliant idea from Kamikaze. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and legitimately, if you win that, I feel like you deserve a title match. It's like you've beat 3 people, so it makes sense. Technically 3-0.
Yeah. And more importantly, you deserve a Kamikaze Pro Live spot, and you'll be on the next few shows, I'm sure. Whereas if you're eliminated first round of that tournament, you will be fighting for your Pro Live spot.
Thought you were going to say something more expletive then. Anyway, let's get to the main event. Samuel Hughes, the most recent Roulette Rumble winner, facing against George Lydon, the ever-dominant -1 loss champion, as you're aware.
George Lydon hasn't been pinned in a year apart from by me. Yep. So, Kamikaze, it's been a year since Chantel Jordan defeated George, and the only person to get him down for the count of 3 in 1 whole year is right here. So,
the real
come on, Kamikaze.
Yeah.
Real Pro Live champ.
George Lydon, so George was outpowering and working Sam, which I was surprised. George obviously has got the height advantage, but Sam's been hitting the gym. As you can tell, this is probably the first match he's had where he showed off his physique, which is very impressive at the moment.
He wrestled shirtless, and I'm really glad he did. Yeah. He showed off a huge transformation, and I think that was a mind game, because I think this match started with 2 people who've been in the dojo for roughly the same amount of time, who know each other really well. And George has been the star pupil, the standout pupil, the guy who's traveling the country, who's wrestling the big names, winning belts. He probably views Sam as that annoying younger brother who's never going to be on his level. And Sam showed up completely transformed, completely upping his game and showing that he is now on George's level. And it just added to the excitement of the match from the bell.
Yeah, and George has got this new kind of, he knows how good he is kind of persona. He did the good old-fashioned nip-ups where you do about 50 of them in a row when you're in an arm lock, in a wrist lock. Sam then full-on slapped George Lydon. I think he just was annoyed about the goal of him. Lydon hit one of his perfect dives from the outside because he's George Lydon. Hit 3 massive chops, which he took from Chantel versus Zach Walker, and went, you know what, I'll do that to Samuel Hughes because he's bare-chested. Hughes then caught him on the rope, which was a good kind of manoeuvre to stop that.
This was a crazy move. Let's break it down. So George tried to sort of springboard in. Yeah. He got onto the second. Sam kicked his foot away. Mm-hmm. George fell forward, tried to save himself, so he got his hands down, leaving him in almost a press-up position, but angled downwards. Mm-hmm. And in the split second that he'd done that to save himself, Sam had bounced off the second rope and double-stomped him. And that was crazy.
Absolutely waylaid him. Hughes was in control of that. He hit a shotgun dropkick a la Alex Connors, which was a nice one. Then, out of nowhere, George kind of fired back with big Enziguri. Then he kind of went into all Japan mode. Enziguri. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, that Enziguri was...
Then he had his springboard back elbow drop a la Tajiri, hit a fisherman, going full on. Then he went too quickly to the finish. Tried to hit a 450 splash. And I think he kind of... what's the word? He kind of... I can't think of the word. God damn it. He hit it too early, the 450 splash. I think he kind of, with Sam, he thought he was done when obviously clearly Sam was not done. I couldn't think of the word. Disrespect? It's not disrespect. I know what I'm on about.
Underestimate, at least.
Underestimated Sam. That's the one.
And that told into the whole story of the match. George is used to Sam being the underachiever of the pair, and for George being the far and away the standout of the two of them. And I think that really cost George several times in this match, and he had to really respect Sam by the end of it.
Yeah. George then hit a German, but Hughes popped up straight away and kneed his chin off. But both guys were down. It was a bit of adrenaline for Sam. He couldn't follow up with it. Lydon hit a pump kick. Sam hit a Rainmaker at that point. And then he hit a lock inversion. Is it the Finn Balor 1916, kind of 1916?
Yeah, this was really impressive. So it was like a 1916, but then he sat out so that he could hook the legs for the pin immediately. So I thought the 1916 was going to bounce George. It was going to be right on his head. Great move. But he managed to catch it in an almost driver-like position with his legs spread and hook the leg straight away. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, then they started going strike for strike. He hit a grueling twisting DDT in the ropes. Like, it was horrific. Like,
it was nuts. So for those who haven't watched it, you've got to watch it to believe. But this was George in the ropes, caught and hung up, but looking upwards at the ceiling, at the lights, but still hovering above the ground, caught in the ropes, and Sam twisting him, even though his legs are still pointing one way, his head then points the other, it's pointing down, and into that DDT. I thought that was the finish on commentary. I absolutely gasped. I've been the one who wants to take that belt off George. I actually was supporting George in this match. We've got a lot of respect for each other. I think that should be me. But right then and there, I thought, fair play, Samuel Hughes, you've done it.
Yeah, but he didn't. And then he just followed up with a double arm DDT. You know what? What's one DDT? We can drop someone on the head again. Near fall, Lydon then got on top and he hit a beautiful flying headbutt. Like, everyone was expecting, he's going to hit a 450, and then he just fell.
Yeah, more than that, despite the fact his head must have been caved in from the offense from Sam, he hit a cross body off one buckle, landed, bounced straight into a forward roll, straight RVDing over the ropes and up to the top, and then just a Kakeshi-style headbutt that was picture perfect. And
it was great. Then, obviously, Adam did his job and had a bit of malfunction at the junction and got knocked out because, why not, Adam? Stephen, then obviously the numbers game was coming into the play. Will Stevens
you mentioned Kieran earlier, McQueen not coming out with Sam because he was injured, but Will Stevens did come out. He was out for the whole match. It wasn't just now. We've only mentioned him now because it's the first time he played a factor. But yeah, Adam managed to get a little bit of a bop and distracted and knocked down for a few moments, and then came Will Stevens, and they hit back-to-back pile drivers at one point, a belly-to-back pile driver, bouncing George straight into
Sam
that.
Was finished, and then Will with the pile driver. And I thought that was
Crazy.
it. Honestly thought that was it. Ref back in. The 1-2 kicks out the last second, like your good old-fashioned 2.99999. The only trouble, I think, was that if Kieran McQueen was there to do the punt in the move as well, which is what they normally do, that might have done it for him. Then, because Adam was slightly groggy, Stevens nearly got involved again, but Edgar Adams was like, no, this isn't happening. They both
I think they had some plans with Sam's cane, I believe. It looked like Will Stevens and Sam were going to use the cane to finish the job, but here comes Edgar Adams, fists of fury on Will Stevens, tried to fight him to the back, didn't quite make it.
Yep. They're
brawling in the aisle. Samuel Hughes gets knocked to the aisle, and this is the most hellacious thing I think I'd seen. George hits his tope con hilo, huge flip dive. He kicks. I mean, everyone gets murdered in this spot because he kicks Will Stevens hard in the head. But because of that kick, it angles George's body down, and he hits his arm, his coccyx. I couldn't see his head below the chairs. But George could barely get up. Will Stevens could barely get up. Edgar got knocked back flying. Sam might have been the best out of the lot of them. But somehow, once they both rolled back in, George had a burst of energy. He hit, was it the Tiger Driver? You might have it written down there.
And then the massive drive, then he a massive lariat. To kind of knock his head off. Then he hit the driver, and then he hit a 450 to pick up the win.
George has really entered his All Japan era right here. He's hitting lariats, tiger drivers. We saw Shining Wizard earlier in this match. He really loves the Kawada, Misawa, Kabashi offense, and it's done him so much.
I can't deny it.
Favor. So ever since he's been doing it, he's been picking up wins, so you can't complain. But you knew that he was really hurt because he couldn't even carry both belts back. He had to drop one, and Adam had to pick it up and trail behind. So probably more of a fight than he was expecting. And that hellacious tope con hilo, again, if you've not seen it, you've got to see it. I can't explain it well enough.
Overall, I rated it 3.5. I really enjoyed the match. And Sam, which was nice for Sam, obviously, the fact he didn't really get on with the fans, but the fans gave him a standing ovation at the end as well, which I think it's because they didn't expect that to come out of Sam.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time, he's had a chance to have a full-on brawl match.
Absolutely.
And the moves he pulled out, superb.
Really stepped up another level, did Sam here. Hopefully that sort of cements him as the leader of House of Heritage, and they do keep rolling, even with Kieran McQueen. It was only busted open. He's not injured, for those who are worried, who were at the show. He will be back at the next one. It was just that. I mean, once your nose gets busted open and is bleeding, it affects your vision. You can't see. I hope that does something good for Samuel Hughes, and I imagine he goes right back to Zeros to Heroes and continues that beef.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially as they're 1-1. But yeah, that was the end. So George is your reigning champion once again. So as usual, like and subscribe. Check out our preview for Rise of the Emperor, which I will hopefully be getting filmed Sunday. It's Tuesday it's Wednesday for anyone that cares, recording wise. And we'll get that out next week. You'll be seeing Alex many a time this month, as I said. We've got a Hinckley review. He'll be reviewing Rise of the Emperor. Preview for Hinckley, sorry. There's Wrestle Connect. Indy Spotlight, which is the main thing you'll be doing for us. So you'll get to learn a lot about Alex Connors that you probably didn't know about him, or how much he lets us to know.
Yeah, I've been on this show a number of times without really talking about myself, apart from my own matches. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, but hopefully it's interesting for people watching at home.
Yeah, especially because people get to know more about you outside of the Kamikaze, because we only know you Kamikaze-wise, and obviously I've seen you outside of Kamikaze. People probably haven't seen you at TTW and DCW and Full Force and stuff like that.
20 promotions last year, so I imagine there's somebody somewhere, no one was at all 20 of them, I'm sure, and if you were, I'm very impressed. That's a very dedicated fan.
You love a bit of Alex Connors. But yeah, as usual, like and subscribe Alex's Instagram, because we've deleted his Twitter off the screen. It's never going to appear again. He's on there. You also, Indie Spotlight wise, though, Alex is going to be debuting our new graphics as well, so stay tuned for that. But is there anything else you'd like to bring up before we end this wonderful time?
No, nothing else from me other than what a role Kamikaze's on. Rise of the Emperor, I'm really excited. Great idea to get all those 2.0 guys fighting it out for their spots. It's going to be really exciting. And the fourth show that's been absolutely off the charts for Kamikaze in about as many weeks. They really are on an absolute tear, and I hope this year stays this momentum.
Yeah, especially because I think this is a role of Kamikaze for people that care. First time I've rated 3 matches in a row, pay-per-view wise, 4+ stars. Kamikaze's are banging it.
Yeah, great year. So hopefully see you at the next one.
Yeah, and it's only February. So everyone, goodbye. Oh, yeah.